Hello, welcome to Operations Management. Today we have a guest speaker, Joanne Valley from the Los Angeles Gateway Chamber of Commerce. She's going to tell us what a Chamber of Commerce does and some of the interesting ways that their chamber helps local businesses.
Hi, my name is Joanne Valley. I'm the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Gateway Chamber, serving the communities of Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, and Lomita.
All in Los Angeles.
Lomita is a city of its own.
Okay.
And recently, about 2 years ago, their chamber folded. So, because we're such close neighbors, I was asked to take over and help out the Lomita businesses.
Okay.
So we've kind of incorporated them and we work with those businesses as well
Right.
because they're our neighbors.
So is the chamber, is it a government entity or how is it funded?
No, the chamber is self-supporting. It's a 501c6. Oops, excuse me. 6, not a C, not a 3. A 3 is something different. 3 is a not-for-profit. And that's where Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCA, they're all 3. We're not. All chambers are 501c6 for one reason. That is because we lobby. We lobby our elected officials.
Okay.
So that's why we're a little different.
Right.
Okay, in that aspect. So we survive through memberships, through grants. Right now we have a grant with Supervisor Janice Hahn, and it's to help out small businesses. So in doing that, we have workshops, we have seminars, we work very closely with them. The businesses will come in here and we help them through certain processes. We teach them how to look for money. We teach them how to create a business plan.
Okay.
Those are the kinds of things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of small businesses, I think, don't really know how to make a business plan.
Well, they don't understand it, so we help them do that. Also, technology is an issue for small business.
Also,
Well, because they are not up on that. Small business owners work very, very hard just to keep their business floating. They don't have time to look at that technology. So what we have created is a workshop that will tell them of the latest technology. And as we know, technology is changing like crazy.
sure.
Turn around and, something different within an hour from what you just bought. So it's a very interesting world right now, technology. And we're just kind of doing business a whole different way now. So that's another thing of educating small businesses. This is not the same old small business world anymore. It's constantly changing. And we're teaching them how to deal with those changes.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing is HR issues. We teach them how to hire people, how to fire people. That's very important. And the fact there are state labor laws that have to be followed, and they're monitored. If they're not followed, then you're fined. So with some of the businesses, larger companies like Target and them, so if employees are not taking their breaks when they're supposed to, then what happens, they get a write-up for it.
Okay.
So they're making it their responsibility as employees to make sure you're getting your break, you're taking your breaks and your lunches when you're supposed to.
So Target, that would be a large business.
That's a huge corporation.
And do they get involved with the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, they do. When they're looking for local hires, they will come to us, and we work with the. It's in Long Beach. It's the Pacific Gateway Workforce Center, and we're under them, and we'll work with them in trying to find good employees that they're looking for. So what helps is the Workforce Center actually will go and they will interview people to hire. And then they decide this one fits, this gentleman doesn't, or whatever. Then the employer gets to interview, say there are 5 or 6 people that they send to them. And they choose who they want to hire. But they just do the screening process, which really, really can take up a lot of time for that small business owner. Right? Just really
Sure.
has a hard time with that. So we're trying to also network them in the right direction with the right people. And so what we do with HR, we have a firm that's a member, and they will help them if necessary. At a very, very low rate.
Okay.
Because they can't afford to keep on an HR person. But
Right.
they don't have that much of a need, a small business. So we bring the small businesses together through the small business committee, and we offer these different kinds of things for them.
Okay. So you help them with their business plans, you help them with human resources, hiring and firing, and what about compensation and commissions? Do you help them figure that out, or are they...
Well, if they need to, we will. We certainly will. That's something we can help them out with, sure. And yeah. And with the increase in minimum wage, which sounds great and wonderful to the worker, but it's a nightmare for the small business guy, because he's got to figure out he's going to make that up somewhere,
Right.
to keep his business open.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting task right now. And being very creative. And maybe, you're going to that donut shop and you've been paying, $2 for a donut, and now you're going to pay $2.10. And you go, why did it go up? That's to help with that increase in minimum wage, because everything else has gone up now.
Okay.
That includes, the business owner has to pay a tax on his employees, the wages.
So they pay more than just the wage.
Oh, the employee, yeah. There's all kinds of benefits you have to pay for. You got to pay into Social Security. Well, that's really important. That's federal. There's no choice. So you have to match that. Whatever is taken out of your paycheck, the owner has to match that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone is paid, say, $15 an hour at their job, how much would it actually cost the employer to pay that person, including all the benefits and taxes?
The $15 an hour rate, we figured it out, $27 an hour.
$27.
So,
So
yep.
almost twice the whatever fee the person gets, the company has to pay almost twice that amount.
Right. That's a whole nother.
So, well, that brings up a new topic: international trade. What does the chamber do on that line to help businesses?
Well, we can start from the beginning of international trade, what happened with our chamber, and why the name changed.
Okay.
Because we were the only chamber that was very involved with international trade. We saw this a way of creating jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So what we were doing was going out to a smaller manufacturer who was not importing, or if they were very minimum exporting. So we said to them, we're going to teach you how to do this. It's going to grow your business. You have a whole world of new customers. And so we have an international trade committee that I think every single country is represented on that committee.
All right.
Yeah. Yes, it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very complex. So one of the things that we do is we specialize in documentation. Because if the documentation is not correct, you're not going to get your goods out of this country.
Right.
They're going to leave, but they're going to be sitting out in the ocean somewhere because your customers of country, they don't want to take them without the proper documentation.
Mm-hmm.
So certain things needs to have what's called a certificate of origin, which means the product was originated in the U.S. And then we get this is an embossing stamp.
Mm-hmm.
They get a gold seal, an embossing stamp, and an ink stamp
Okay.
on that certificate of origin. Now there's some really tricky stuff with that certificate of origin. Okay, one of the things is, and it was really a learning curve, because I always thought it had to be made here in the U.S. to be qualified for that certificate of origin. Oh no. That product can be made overseas. It comes to the U.S. Something is done to that, whether or not it's repackaged or it's simply it sat in a warehouse and then they loaded it on another truck and sent it to the retailer. That means we can stamp that as a
Oh, really?
certificate. Yeah, but it says it's a different certificate, and it states what country the product originated in.
Okay.
So that's very interesting with that end of it. Some countries, Saudi Arabia, if my signature is not on that document, because my signature and one other person from the chamber, our signatures are on file in the consulate. If they don't match, it doesn't go.
Okay.
They're the only countries that's really tough with this. Ethiopia is a really interesting country, and we really send a lot of goods to Ethiopia.
Oh,
But in return, we also import some of their textiles, which is very beautiful. I mean, it's just amazing. And one thing about international trade, folks, we as Americans don't realize how the whole world wants American-made products. I mean, they do. That's what they want. So it's kind of interesting how our products are wanted because it's considered to be a high quality.
okay. So there's a big market for that, and the local manufacturers need help to figure out how to deal with international.
This is complicated. So
So
we
you can't
have
just
an
put your
agreement.
product into a box and
Oh,
shipping
no,
label
no,
it
no.
and send it off to another country.
No. First of all, you got to find that customer on the other side of the world that
Right.
wants your product. Right. So that's the reason we have delegations that go to these different countries to help them.
You started telling about Belarus.
Oh, Belarus, yes. So we have an agreement with them. We have an agreement with Belarus and our chamber that we're partners in international trade. And we have a business committee that meets twice a year. Once it meets in Belarus, once it meets here. So we have our delegations that meet together, and we try to figure out what kind of products are they looking for, and vice versa. So they needed some PVC piping. We looked all over California for it. Do you know where we found that? A factory in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, really?
So what we did, we were able to make an agreement with them that they shipped it out of Wilmington, North Carolina, instead of coming across the whole country. So it's really an international thing. It's just
Interesting.
right.
What about importing? Do you get involved with
A little bit of
customers who want to import and then distribute here?
yeah, we help them on that line, but what we want to see is we want to see it equal. In other words, we don't want the scales to be tipped on all this import and very little export, because that's not good for us.
Right.
But we want to be fair, we want to be friends with all our neighbors, and so, we encourage both. But we like to see the scale a little bit tipped our way.
Okay.
That just helps business, it grows business.
Right.
So, getting to the name change. So when this came about, and we were getting kickback about our name from customs, and so they didn't believe we were a chamber. They thought there was some hanky-panky going on here. And so, no, we proved it. We sent all our documentation that we were a real chamber and all. So the chamber board sat down and said, you know what, we were so engrossed in this international trade. We need to do something about the name because people they just don't recognize that name.
So what was the name before?
Harbor City, Harbor Gateway Chamber.
Okay.
So nobody's heard of Harbor City. I mean, some of our neighbors in Torrance don't even know even there's such a thing as Harbor City, right? And we thought the name Harbor City was very international, but it's not.
Right.
So, but the whole world knows Los Angeles,
Sure.
and we are the gateway.
And so now we're Los Angeles Gateway
Chamber.
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the tagline is serving Harbor City, Harbor Gateway. And we haven't added Lomita yet. We're kind of waiting to see on that.
Right. So that makes sense, and that's similar to the baseball team in Anaheim,
Exactly.
who are now the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, I think they're called. Because
Kaiser.
everyone knows Los Angeles.
Kaiser Permanente. It used to be Kaiser Harbor City. It didn't work for them. They couldn't market it.
Hmm.
They could not market it.
That's the hospital locally.
Yeah. The huge Kaiser facility.
Right.
So now they're Kaiser South Bay.
Okay.
But we ended up doing that with the Boys and Girls Club also. And it seems like we shoot ourselves in the foot by doing that because we're still not, recognizing our community. But when you're in business, you've got to think about your bottom line.
Sure.
And that's where this is. It's not because we don't love Harbor City and the Gateway. Of course we do. This is our home. This is our community. But sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and say, okay, this is not working, so we have to do this change. And we found out the change has been fantastic for us. It's worked for us very well.
Yeah, it's a catchy name.
And our logo, I think, is beautiful.
It sure is. I like
Yeah.
that. It shows that you're international,
Right.
based in Los Angeles, in the Gateway.
That's right.
Great.
So I have quite a bit of information. As you can see, one of our partners, the Port of LA and the Port of Long Beach, we're partnering with them both. And LAX.
Okay.
So we have partnerships. And when we, the last workshop we had was a financial workshop on international trade. And Import-Export Bank is a big player and it's federally run. And that bank is not what we know of as a regular bank. That bank mainly will insure the goods going to another country.
Okay.
Yeah, they're almost more of insuring, but it's federally insured. So whenever you're in the export particular business, you need to make, it's called for short Epson Bank, you need to make them your best friend.
Okay.
Well, besides
And-
customs.
And that's to handle the money transfer from a company in a foreign country to a company.
Well, it guarantees that.
Okay.
Now, on that end, there's a lot of things. A lot of times you want to get your money up front. If this is a brand new customer and you don't really know them very well, you want to make sure they send you the money before the goods go.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, if it's an established customer, you've dealt with them for years and you know they're good, then what you do is you have a letter of credit developed. And that letter of credit just guarantees you're going to get paid by that country. But
And does the letter of credit, is that just between the two companies, or how does
Yeah.
that work?
basically, but it's funny, the letter of credit, we have to stamp as well. And it
Okay.
has to be notarized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a legal document.
It's very legal, right? And usually it's drawn up, so if they're a large enough company, they will have their own person that'll write the letters of credit. Otherwise, there's companies that will create just the letter of credits.
Okay. Interesting.
And mostly of them, they actually belong to us as members because they know they're going to get business.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Okay, well that's very interesting. So if someone wants to learn more about the chambers and what they do, where would they look for information?
Well, we have a website.
Mm-hmm.
And the website, of course, is LAGchamber.com.
LAG for
So
LA
it's a-
Gateway.
Yeah, so it's like LA, it's like lagchamber.com.
Lag Chamber.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of unusual, but
Great.
yes.
Very interesting.
That, or they can call me.
Okay.
And my number is 310-534-3143.
Okay. Great.
Call me
I
good time.
appreciate it.
And anybody wants to volunteer, come in and do some time, learn more about chambers and how they work. You know, we also have our small business council that we work with. There's a lot of different things going on right now.
Okay. Interesting. Well, thank you very much, Joan.
Oh, one other thing.
Okay.
We're going to put a plug in for our new Student Chamber of Commerce. It's the LA Gateway Student Chamber of Commerce. And we have students from college level
Mm-hmm.
that are now learning how to interact in the business world.
Oh, interesting.
So we have mentors for them. They're going to learn how to develop a board. How do you work with a nonprofit? How do you market your company? Um, it's really going to be fun. We're really going to
Good.
be.
And information's on your website regarding
Not
that?
yet, but
Not
they
yet.
can call me.
Okay.
Yes, and then information's on the website.
Okay. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
So thank you very much for the interview with Joanne Valley, the Los Angeles Gateway Chamber of Commerce, and I hope you enjoyed the interview. Thanks.